Today, we find ourselves entangled in a digital world dominated by artificial intelligence-driven social media platforms, search engines, and recommendation algorithms. These AI systems have become so deeply ingrained in our daily routines that we barely even recognize their presence. They learn our preferences, cater to our interests, and shape our perception of reality, often without our conscious awareness. While these systems have brought us many benefits, such as, personalized content, instant access to all of the information that humanity has gathered, it's also fueled our addiction to technology and altered our social interactions. As we scroll through endless feeds, seeking validation through likes and shares, we become increasingly disconnected from the real world and our genuine human connections. In our pursuit of progress, we inadvertently opened the door for artificial intelligence to influence our thoughts, emotions, and decisions. This was the first interaction that we've had with machines that can in some way be considered more intelligent than humans. Now we're on the precipice of an even scarier and more important confrontation with AI. So let's dive in and talk about the future of AI and the threat that it poses to humanity. The current state of AI development is characterized by rapid progress, driven by the combination of increasingly powerful computing hardware, sophisticated algorithms, and vast amounts of data. Neural networks, which are inspired by the structure and function of the human brain, have become a cornerstone of modern AI research. These networks consist of interconnected nodes, or neurons, essentially, and they can learn by adjusting the strength of these connections through a process called training. Machine learning is a subfield of AI which focuses on enabling computers to learn from data without any explicit programming, so they essentially learn of their own accord. With the advent of deep learning, a more advanced form of machine learning, AI has seen tremendous leaps in its capabilities. Deep learning utilizes large neural networks called deep neural networks to process and learn from complex and even unstructured data. Today, AI systems can recognize objects in images, they can understand human speech, translate languages, generate realistic images, and even beat humans at many complex games such as Go, poker, and even StarCraft. There is obviously a huge incentive to create the most powerful AI model possible, trying to increase its capabilities, make them more powerful, more competent, more capable, more reliable. And obviously there's both an economic incentive to do so and the idea that a lot of improvements to life in general could be made. A lot of good and positive things for humanity could happen as a result of the development of super intelligent machines. While there are a lot of great aspects to AI and things that it could help us with, like medicine, scientific discovery in general, transportation, and just automation of a lot of things in society, leading to economic growth and prosperity for all of us, ideally. There's also some negatives, things like job displacement, unemployment, people losing out because machines take over their jobs, essentially. And of course, wealth inequality. If the richest people in society are the ones that have access to super intelligence, then of course they're going to benefit even more than the rest of us who end up being left behind. But beyond that, I want to talk about the real threat of AI, I think, which is similar to the way that social media has sort of taken over our lives, has influenced us in the way that I described at the start of the video, that it subtly has come in and changed the way we interact with each other, changed the chemical processes going on in our brains even sometimes, getting us into loops of addiction and depression even and things like this. So there's a huge effect that artificial intelligence has already had, and I want to talk about the more dangerous and subtle effects that this new wave of artificial intelligence, I think, will also have on humanity. So when we think about robots or artificial intelligence taking over the world, we often imagine, these Boston Dynamics type robots or military autonomous vehicles or whatever, these kind of machines that are equipped with weapons and, go out hunting down people and, they just become some kind of artificial intelligence military that kills everybody, hunts people down, that kind of thing. But I think the dystopian future that is more likely to come is a lot less obvious and in some ways a lot more scary and very much outside of our control. I think the real threat of AI as it currently stands, as it progresses at such an exponential and unhindered rate, it's difficult for humans often to understand exponentials and to really work out and realize how quickly changes can occur that are exponential. But I think AI is one of those, and I think the improvements to AI is going to happen much faster than people realize. Many companies are already in an arms race of sorts to develop AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. This is the idea that a machine could be essentially more intelligent than human beings in every possible field, or at least as competent, if not more so, in every sort of general field of intelligence that there is. So we're talking about companies trying to make essentially beings, things that exist which have more intelligence than humans in every way, that are just simply more capable, more intelligent, able to process information at greater quantities, able to analyze more quickly, able to rationalize better, just anything you can imagine that's intellectual, these systems would be able to perform at a level better than what humans can do. And already we're seeing a lot of different tests for these AI systems where they're able to actually perform at an extremely high level on these tests, often better than humans even could. So this is a really scary prospect. There are already systems like Hugging GPT, which you might have heard of if you're at all versed in sort of this type of information, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. The idea being that these models can sometimes communicate with themselves, communicate with other models, and have that sort of act as a central hub, like a type of brain that can then delegate tasks to other models. And in such a way, they can outperform a model on its own and how that would ordinarily be working. So we're already getting to a point where these systems can outperform humans in many different ways, and I think it's only a matter of time before we reach this level of sort of super intelligence, shall we say, where these machines are just more capable than humans in every way intellectually. So clearly this is a really scary prospect. Having beings that are more intelligent than people, that typically doesn't go very well. If you're humans and you see some kind of animal that's not as intelligent, generally those animals are not treated as well as humans are treated by other humans. We tend to think less of them. We tend to discriminate in favor of ourselves because we're that more intelligent species. So you've got to imagine that having something that's more intelligent than humans with us is a bit scary. It's almost like having an alien species come to Earth that is more intelligent than humans, and typically we wouldn't really think that situation would be too positive for us. There's also the threat of artificial intelligence being able to improve itself. There's this idea of the singularity point at which artificial intelligence is able to just improve itself at such a rate that it can rapidly take off and become far, far more intelligent than humans, improve itself so much that it just gets way out of control. Humans have no capability to understand it, reason with it at that point, and that's when things get really quite dicey for civilization. There have been a lot of warnings from prominent, scientists over the years. Even Stephen Hawking, for example, has expressed that the AGI could be the worst event in the history of our civilization if not properly managed. Now, the real issue here is currently we don't have a way to really understand properly even the systems that we're making. So these AI systems that are able to do complex reasoning, logic, if you've tried ChatGPT, for example, the very latest model, GPT-4, is very adept at reasoning. It can even self-improve. You've got things like AutoGPT, which can carry out all sorts of tasks just on their own. They can sort of prompt themselves to do things. You might have thought that these systems are just simply you type something and it gives you a response. It's just some kind of regurgitating parrot that just takes information it's learned and regurgitates. It's not quite that. It's a lot more complicated and sophisticated. It is able to analyze things, actually employ logic, rationality, and a lot of the emergent capabilities, so things that you wouldn't expect the model to be able to do just from the number of parameters that it has and the information that it's fed. Well, often these models can and do things that they shouldn't really be capable of doing, and the people that design them do not quite understand how these emergent properties, the ability to understand Persian, come about when there's been no training done for that type of thing.
There's no difference in the models. They just increase in parameter size. That is, they just get bigger.
What are parameters, Asa?
It's just like the number essentially of weights in a matrix. So it's just the size. You're just increasing the scale of the thing. And what you see here, and I'll move into some other examples that might be a little easier to understand, is that you ask these AIs to do arithmetic, and they can't do them, and at some point, boom, they just gain the ability to do arithmetic. No one can actually predict when that'll happen. Here's another example, which is, you train these models on all of the internet, so it's seen many different languages, but then you only train them to answer questions in English. So it's learned how to answer questions in English, but you increase the model size, and at some point, boom, it starts being able to do question and answers in Persian.
So there's something going on behind the scenes with these AI that even the creators of them don't quite understand. These emergent properties, how do they come into being? So we've got these AI that we don't quite understand, and they're accelerating at a rapid pace, and we haven't properly figured out the problem of how to control these AIs, how to keep them aligned with what humanity wants, how to stop them from going crazy and killing everyone, or pursuing some goal that ends up in, humanity becoming extinct. There's many ways this could happen, it doesn't have to be malevolent. Of course, the example that's often given is if you maybe tell superintelligence to get rid of cancer, which might seem like a good thing to do, then it might just kill everybody so that there's no cancer left, right? If there's no living beings, there's no cancer, job done, right? So you've got to imagine there can be some negative consequences if you've not properly got the system to understand what you want as a species it to be doing. And this problem of alignment, as it's called in this field, is very scary. I mean, there's not been a huge amount of progress on alignment when compared to the progress of the capabilities of these AI models are being developed. The graph for alignment, understanding, and research is going at a much slower rate to the huge exponential of the capabilities of such AI. And that kind of would imply that it's going to be difficult for us to align models that become more and more sophisticated.
But I would not underestimate the difficulty of alignment of models that are actually smarter than us, of models that are capable of misrepresenting their intentions.
Misalignment is obviously a really bad thing. If you have a super intelligence and it doesn't want the same things that you want, then it's going to end up doing stuff that could be really, really bad. And it's pretty hard to imagine a situation where a misaligned AI of that level does not end up extincting, if you could say, humanity, or enslaving humanity, or, taking control over our situation and lives in a way that would not be desirable. It's pretty easy to imagine that happening. This is really quite a prominent problem and worry in a lot of sort of scientists and people who are interested in the field. There's a lot of worry and fear about this. I don't know if it's sort of public knowledge. I think it should be. In some way, the development of AI could be likened to the development of nuclear weapons, as in when those come about, there's the potential for huge destruction, devastation, damage to humanity. I think a lot of people are in the dark a little bit about this issue. And the difficulty with AI and with alignment of AI in particular is you only get one opportunity to get it right. If you develop a super intelligence and it doesn't want the same things as you, that's sort of the only time you get to do that, and then you're going to be no longer in control of what's going on. So there's a real threat there and a real worry, and something that needs to be handled very, very carefully. I think it's not difficult to imagine that the way things are going currently, if there's not some kind of big push, big governmental or societal push to regulate, to slow down and sort of contain these kind of things. The capability of what's accessible to the public already is incredibly advanced compared to stuff we had just, a year or two ago. It's quite incredible. You should probably try this stuff out for yourself if you haven't already, because it's really impressive what these AI models are capable of. And this is just what the public has access to. So you can imagine what is being developed behind closed doors, at these companies or even in government facilities or whatever it might be. There's probably all kinds of just very advanced, intelligent entities that are being used, being improved upon. And I think it's not going to be too long before there are some consequences of that happening. So what does this really look like? What does it look like, a world where the super intelligent AIs sort of take control away from their creators? Well, I think it's going to present itself in some ways that might not seem so crazy or different to what we're used to at this point, in terms of social media controlling our lives in some way. I think a lot of what artificial intelligence will do will be similar to that effect. It will be things like the flow of information will be disrupted. You won't be able to tell what is real, what is fake. There'll be videos, there'll be deep fakes that are on a level that is just, we won't be able to distinguish between the real and what is not real, unless it's literally what you're experiencing in real life. And even then, perhaps AI will advance to a point where it is no longer even possible to distinguish between actual reality and a reality that's just simulated by the powers that be. If AI were to decide that society would function better if it could control everything in a certain way, then that's the reality you would be presented with, and I think most people would not be able to see past that. That would become the new normal, the new reality, much in the same way that artificial intelligence has impacted our lives through social media. I think you'll see that on a greater scale than anything we've ever seen before. So I don't think necessarily the just extinction of humanity will be something that takes place. It's possible. I think it's more likely that we'll enter sort of a dystopian Brave New World perhaps type situation, where everyone is experiencing the world in the way that an AI sees fit. Perhaps it's even a good experience for all of those people that are having it. Perhaps we all enjoy our lives, under the control of a super intelligence. But I don't think freedom will be a thing that humans have in the same way that we think of ourselves to have currently. So that's my prediction for where this will lead. I'm not sure what the point of this video is other than just a bit of a thought experiment, a bit of a thinking about what the future might hold, in the same way that we might have made a video about how social media might impact us in the future. It was a bit difficult to see the effects that it would end up having for teenagers and their mental health and all this kind of stuff. But I think it's definitely an interesting idea to explore. Something that I'll leave you with, if you're not really convinced about this artificial intelligence stuff, I can see that a lot of people might think it's, just whatever. They're just getting a little worked up over possible stuff. It's all hypothetical. I used artificial intelligence to make the thumbnail for this video. I used it to come up with a lot of the script for this video as well. If you think that AI is not something that's going to be very powerful and going to influence our future in a big way, then I would encourage you to try it out for yourself. Maybe see if you can get some value from it before we enter some kind of a dystopian timeline. But with that being said, thanks very much for watching, guys. Subscribe as always for more videos, and I will see you next time.